Well, a good Saturday afternoon about coffee time. It's February 20th, 2016. Looking eastbound down Railway Avenue in Gladmar, Saskatchewan. Canadian Pacific laid the rail line in 1928-29 from Lake Alma about 7 miles to the east to Minton about 7 miles to the west. This is the Lake Alma uplands, piles of undifferentiated till pushed up by glaciers of the Wisconsin and Ice Age. I'm looking westward. This is a CPR town site laid out perpendicular to the rail line. The original Gladmar was established around a coal mine that the Heidnice brothers from Overland, 8 miles south, opened up in 1910, about 2 miles north of here.
So they moved town from there to here to fit the railway to ship coal. And supposedly my house, this one, was the first house built in Gladmar, and it was a carpenter. His name was John Black who built this house. This house used to be a hospital.
Oh, the yellow one.
Yeah, that's my parents' house.
In 1929, the CPR dropped off a portable station about where that gambrel roof structure is there, at mile 72.6 from Estevan on what it called its Braunhead sub to the end of the line at Minton. The station was sold off in 1969 and the steel was pulled from the sub in the mid-1990s. On a siding on the south side of the line over there stood 2 elevators, Saskatchewan Wheat Pool, built in 1929, and Parrish and Heimbecker a year later. They were merged and the whole operation shut down by the Weyburn Inland Terminal in 2000. This school was built in 1948. In the background there is the new school built in 1963, Gladmar Regional High. Until 1948, kids went to a number of rural schools, including that of Gladmar, which was built on the old town site in 1913. And looking south down Range Road 19-2, west of the 2nd Meridian, Highway 18 is about 2K down. This monument to the pioneers is on the little island created by the convergence of Range Road 19-2 and Center Street off to our left. We're looking north. Gladmar is divided in two by the Range Road. On the west is the CPR town site. On the east, it's all laid out cardinally. And looking more westward to northward along First Avenue, which crosses Center Street and the Range Road to run in front of the school. And this is Center Street. On May the 1st, 1911, James Edward Black opened the post office of Gladmar, named after his 2 children, Gladstone and Margaret, up on the old town site. It is generally acknowledged that Mrs. J.E. Black was the postmistress of Gladmar. And looking west down Railway Avenue, the enterprising Heidnice brothers built a store on the old town site in 1912, and a hall was raised that year. There was the school, of course, likely a livery stable and a few houses. The whole kit and caboodle was moved down here at the behest of the CPR in 1929. Some of these very buildings, I imagine. Looking north up Center Street, E.W. Ernie Andreas ran the general store. There was even a 2-lane bowling alley. The village was incorporated on February the 15th, 1968, but the corporation was dissolved on November 28th, 2013, and Gladmar is now a Special Service Area award of the RM of Surprise Valley. In the southeast of town there, they're working on a corner of the Valley Field oil field, Bakken oil, some 2,000 meters below our feet. The Black family was quite instrumental in the development of the Gladmar area. Besides running the post office, they gave land for the construction of a school up at the old town site. They held the first church services in the parlor of their house. He was the reeve of the RM of Surprise Valley for many years and was instrumental in convincing the CPR to extend their line out this far. James Edward died in office as the postmaster in 1935. The coal that the Idenice brothers mined up on Reserve Creek was likely lignite coal. Good farm coal, and people came from miles around with sleds and wagons to buy it by the ton. It was never a big operation, there was never a rail spur built up to it or anything. I'm not sure when it ceased commercial operation, but likely sometime in the 30s. After that, people just dug their own. I never did see a church in Gladmar. The Minton Gladmar United is down in Minton, 7 miles to the west. Canadian Northern Railway reached Radville about 20 miles north of here in 1909, and newcomers from Scotland and Norwegians from North Dakota began to settle in this district to farm and ranch, dramatically changing the face of the land over the years. Gladmar, Saskatchewan. And here's a little addendum. July 22nd, 2016, Sunday, about 7 o'clock in the evening, looking eastward down Highway 18 south of Gladmar, 2 kilometers to the north. The intersection is even marked by a light standard. The Lake Alma uplands are part of the mixed grasslands ecoregion, which stretches from southern Saskatchewan all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. I wonder if that is barley or wheat. The Gap Disposal Limited is a Class 2 industrial oil waste disposal facility down in the hills somewhere. I shudder to think how they dispose of it. Use it for fracking the Bakken. Also down south, about 8 miles, is Saibout Lake, where in the 1940s local entrepreneurs organized the stripping of sodium sulfate from the lake bed. It employed lots of people over the years, making extra money during the wintertime to support the farm. There's even a big storage dome built right in the rail yards at Gladmar to protect the stuff from precipitation before it was loaded onto rail cars. Come 1970, there was some 45 folks employed down at Saibout's, mining 2,000 tons a month. In 1981, the Saskatchewan Minerals Corporation took over the operation and they closed it in 1984. It was used a lot in detergents and also in the glass making process and in pulping paper. On the west side of Center Street.
That was always the community hall there, and then the building beside it was an old, was a store.
Maybe the Andreas store. Both E.W. and his wife Louise worked down at Saibout's and might have lost their jobs in 1984. Looks like an old Ford 8N over there, tucked away beside the buildings. This is Treaty 4 territory, also known as the Capel Treaty, signed on September 15, 1874 at Fort Capel between the Cree Saulteaux of the Ojibwa Nation and Assiniboine. And Queen Victoria, as represented by Alexander Morris, the Lieutenant Governor of the Northwest Territories at the time. Over the years, the native folks have been both surprised and disappointed to have been so excluded from so much of their ancestral territory.